A date which will live in infamy.
Daddy, I hate Pearl Harbor Day. I am the only Japanese in the whole class, and the other kids stare. The boys say mean things like, "Your dad fought for Japan during the war."
I am so sorry, Beverly. I guess it's about time I told you about World War II and how thousands of Japanese Americans fought to free Europe from the Germans and Italians. I volunteered out of the Minidoka, Idaho concentration camp to fight with the all-Japanese American 442nd Combat Team and the 100th Battalion from Hawaii. We wanted to prove our loyalty to America. Little did we know, we would become heroes.
We will never serve a country that keeps our families and us captive.
Yes, we will prove our loyalty and fight for America.
I became a sergeant in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Our motto was the Hawaiian dice players saying, "Go for broke!" The Army gave us many dangerous missions. Leading a scouting mission in Italy, I learned what it meant to be responsible for all my men. On that day, my squad was almost wiped out. I yelled at the colonel because he didn't tell us it was a suicide mission. To this day, I still see the faces of my men. I regret that bloody mission and will never forget it. And them. I wept for those I could not save. I felt sorry for their families who were in American concentration camps when they received the news. In October 1944, our next assignment was to save the Texas Lost Battalion, which was surrounded by Germans for over a week in the mountains of eastern France. The Texans were taking heavy casualties and running out of food and ammo. All rescue attempts failed, so they called in the 442nd and 100th, even though we were exhausted and other troops were rested. The German artillery blasted trees as we were crawling up the hill. I heard a loud crack and thud. A huge limb fell next to me, which broke my buddy's neck. I led the charge against a German machine gun nest that had us pinned down. Bullets were flying all around me, and luckily I was not hit. All I could think about was my men, your mom, and my family in Minidoka. Everyone was counting on me.
American troops of Japanese descent, men who have distinguished themselves repeatedly in the European War, move out to rescue the battalion.
It was a bloody battle in the rain and mud, but we finally freed the 212 Texans. The 442nd and 100th suffered more casualties than troops saved. We were so exhausted. We hardly celebrated. We lost so many friends. After, I heard we made the movie-tone news at the theaters back home. They called us heroes for rescuing the Texans.
These American-born troops of Japanese ancestry received decorations from General Dahlquist for their work in rescuing their comrades in arms.
Later, we were able to get some rest and relaxation in town. One of the Hawaii boys got into an argument and punched a white American officer at a French tavern. The military police broke it up and 4 of us were handcuffed. I was busted to the rank of private and thrown in the Army stockade with 3 other guys. I felt guilty because the rest of my buddies went back into battle without us. They needed squad leaders on the line, so they let us out of the stockade. I was happy to get out of jail and rejoin my troops. In April 1945, the 442nd and 100th broke the German Gothic line of defense, something the white Americans could not do. We risked our lives in full combat gear, scaling a 3,000-foot cliff of granite at night. The enemy was waiting, but we surprised the Germans from the rear, and they surrendered quickly. It took the 442nd only a few hours to break the famous Gothic line. But the climb was very dangerous. Those that fell did so in silence. Otherwise, there would have been 5,000 dead Buddha heads at the bottom of the cliff. Any loud sound would have alerted the Germans, and we would have been sitting ducks. We had just enough time to grab a hot meal before we got orders to head out again to the front. I received a letter from my friend Ichiro in the 522nd Field Artillery Battalion. They shot a lock off one of the Dachau death camps and found prisoners who looked like walking skeletons. When I read Ichiro's letter, I said a prayer for the prisoners in Europe. Then I remembered that your mom and my family were safe and not starving in Minidoka. Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day, was May 2nd, 1945. On May 10th, 1945, I was summoned to appear at my court-martial trial about the tavern fight. No one represented me as legal counsel, so I was found guilty. The judge gave me 6 months in the stockade, which included the loss of 6 months' pay. My sentence was reduced, however, because I served time in the stockade in France and fought to break the Gothic line. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki ended the war with Japan. Over 250,000 people were killed. They were women, children, old people, and invalids, not soldiers. I worried about my cousins in Hiroshima. Later, we found out that a few of them had survived the blast. After the war was ending, prisoners in Minidoka and other camps were able to return home. Some had nowhere to go, but had to leave anyway. The government gave them $25 each and a train ticket. I returned on a troop ship that docked in New York. The Statue of Liberty welcomed us all. It was like a whole new world opened up in an instant. Immediately, I caught a train back to Chicago to meet your mother. The 442nd and 100th were called the Purple Heart Battalion because so many of us were wounded. We became the most decorated unit in American history for its size. President Truman said that we fought the enemy and won, and we fought prejudice and won. The ceremony lifted my spirits, and all I could think about was going back home. I couldn't wait to see your mom. In 1945, 4 years after Pearl Harbor, your mother and I were married in Minneapolis. Our new life was beginning as we packed to return to Seattle. I worked several different jobs after returning to Seattle. I was at Tashiro Hardware a short while and then moved on to Smith Gandy Automotive for 20 years. Finally, I sold cars for Bill Pierre Motors in Lake City for 24 years. So, Beverly, that is my story. I should have told you sooner. We fought for liberty and justice, even though our families were in American concentration camps. We became American heroes fighting for freedom and gave our blood for this country. So never be ashamed on Pearl Harbor Day again. Be proud. We proved our loyalty. Every Pearl Harbor Day, I still think about my men who did not make it. I wish I could have done more.
I would have never made it back if it weren't for Shiro's bravery.
I would have never been born if it weren't for Shiro.
In 1983, at the 442nd 100th reunion in Hawaii, the veterans decided to seek justice for Shiro, start a campaign to overturn the court-martial decision, and restore Shiro's rank to sergeant. They said that it was just another battle like the old days, fighting against the odds.
Thank you to all my friends and family for your efforts to restore my rank.
The Army responded to the appeal in 1997. General Walter B. Huffman, Major General, U.S. Army, the Judge Advocate General, sent a letter that came on December 9, 1997, 6 months after Shiro's death. The letter states, Sergeant Shiro Kashino is a hero and should always be remembered as such. His rank has been reinstated. Shiro's stripes are restored. Shiro passes away before the letter is received. In 2012, members of the 442nd were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. Many of the 442nd 100th paid with their lives at the same time their Japanese-American friends and relatives were in American concentration camps. The 442nd 100th never lost a battle, never retreated, and never left a comrade on the field of battle as they held their Go for Broke banner high. Shiro Kashino was born in Seattle, Washington on January 19, 1922, as the sixth child of Fujinosuke Kashino and Hatsune Oda. Shiro enjoyed sports throughout his life. From Leshai Elementary and Garfield High School, he participated in baseball, soccer, basketball, and football. At Garfield, he prided himself on making the All-City Championship football team in 1938. He played quarterback and later, due to injuries, played guard. He was offered a football scholarship to Willamette University in Oregon, but delayed his studies to earn money before commencing his college education.
These planes are headed for the Hawaiian Islands, Pearl Harbor.
His plans were disrupted with the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, and the subsequent forced incarceration of Japanese and Japanese Americans.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry. We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move. The many loyal among them felt that this was a sacrifice they could make in behalf of America's war effort.
Shiro was incarcerated at the Puyallup Assembly Center, a temporary detention center, and later at Minidoka War Relocation Center, a concentration camp near Twin Falls, Idaho. In 1943, when the opportunity to serve in the U.S. Army opened, he volunteered for the 442nd Regimental Combat Team.
They volunteered to fight for the land of their birth, the adopted land of their parents. These boys look like tough fighters. Aren't you glad they're on our side?
He fought in all the major battles of the European campaigns with the 442nd. Shiro was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, 6 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and 1 Silver Star, along with other miscellaneous commendations. Shiro was active in the Nisei Veterans Committee in Seattle and was its commander in 1947-48. He was also very proud of his work on the Nisei War Memorial Monument at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle, which was dedicated in 1949. He was an active member until his death in 1997 from cancer. Every Memorial Day, the Kashino family gathers to honor Japanese American soldiers. His granddaughter Sheena also joins them because it is a tradition that has taught her about the 442nd legacy, which opened opportunities for future generations.